Hey there, my fellow movie buffs. Rhadamant here. Thank you for tuning in to Rad's Guide to Project Zomboid, Episode 16, Blockbuster. I am just about topped up with planks and books. So let's bring this home and turn it into some lovely rain barrels. So I've got 12 planks. Good, that'll work. And here's what I'm making. So it's, if you right click, you go to carpentry, and then you go to furniture. It is the rain collector barrel. There's two types. There's the small and the big. And the small one you have to have carpentry for. Nails, planks, and garbage bags. And then the bigger one you need carpentry 7. And then staircases, which I had mentioned I want to do the plumbing to get to the roof, because I would need rain barrels. The plan eventually is to have rain barrels right around here, right above the kitchenette. So the rain barrels on the top roof, the second floor roof, can supply the kitchenette with water. But I would need stairs that go up there. And then stairs require carpentry 6. So carpentry 6 gets me to the roof. Carpentry 7 gets me the best rain barrels. If I am doing rain barrels for gardening, I'm going to put them along the edge of the roof so that they also offer path blockers, so I don't walk off the edge accidentally. And I'll build 3 of them. It also means building 3 of them, I have used up all my garbage bags, so I'm going to need to collect more garbage bags if I want my rain barrel, but each one of these rain barrels can hold up to 160 units of water. So that's a pretty fair bit of water compared to the 25 per kitchen pot. The annoying part is that the water will be unsafe, so I have to fill a kitchen pot, bring it into the kitchen, boil it to make it safe. So there is some labor involved, but you know, it's nice to have water security. So at this point, if I was a really new player, I would be pretty all set. I have a generator, and I have rain barrels, and that's sort of the bare minimum to survive long term. Plus, I would say farming implements, which I also have. Put the cooking away, and mark down cookbook as found. So that's every single book. So here's the list. I'll put it up again. I don't have a sledgehammer. I don't have a welder's mask. Those are the 2 tools that I am really missing. And then I basically have no tapes other than Car Zone, Dead Wrong, and Exposure Survival. And I've already watched Exposure Survival. So I'm really behind on tapes. I'm going to make sure that I've read all my magazines too, so that I don't loot extra magazines needlessly. Oh, I also don't have a jack. I overlooked that. Which is pretty important for car maintenance. Yeah, I've read every magazine. So the current priority now will be plan a trip for VHS tapes. And there are 2 locations that I could go to. So one is already on my map because it is in Malra. There is a VHS store in Malra. Malra is a pretty big town, but the VHS store is here. I'll put it as a red star. So it's at the southern end of the town. So if I drove over on this road and then drove into town, I would really only have to go a little bit into town in order to get to the VHS store. Meaning that this one is pretty easy to get to as a result. It just requires gasoline and a gassed up car. The other one isn't really on my map. So I'm going to mark down an approximate location. And let me mark down, I'll also add a note that this is VHS. I'm very tempted to just call these Blockbusters, but I won't. So the other one is going to be maybe here-ish. Total random guess. That's another VHS store. And I'll leave a question mark on this one. So there's a trailer park. Actually, no, calling it a trailer park would be incorrect. There's a subdivision, a really large subdivision with a community center, a school, a dorm, a church, post office. Post office are another good point of interest to be able to get books. I should mention post offices will have a lot of magazines and books. But it also has a VHS store. The reason not to go to that one is I'm less certain about the exact location. And also the VHS store is kind of like more deep inside of the facility. So it would be harder for me to physically gain access to. There is one more potential spot. I'm actually not sure if it has VHS tapes, but there's a drive-through theater just south of Rosewood that maybe have tapes. I'm not sure about that. But because I'm going on a rather lengthy road trip tomorrow, I'm going to get to sleep early tonight so that I can hit the road early. Body weight, 78 and holding. All right. I guess my breakfast is going to be more ice cream. I want to get myself back up to like 80, but I'm trying not to like go way past 80 and become obese. And then I'll also bring, let's see, salami and a peach and strawberries and tomatoes. Bunch of food that is frozen, but by the time I eat it, it will thaw. This car is all set to go. I'm going to quickly inspect it for any additional damage that I incurred on my drive down. I just want to make sure that everything is good. So, front left suspension, not great, but everything else is kind of fine. So yeah, it's all set. There is a zombie over here that there's a few zombies over here that I want to kill first. Because if I drive away, there's a non-zero likelihood that they like break doors while I'm away. And although my base is largely on the second floor of the food mart, I don't really want the bottom floor overrun because it will be a pain in the butt to clear it out and then move all the corpses and, just not ideal. I'm also going to start to get in the habit of dismantling wristwatches, even though I haven't read the electronics book, because it's like, if I'm not going to loot the wristwatch because I haven't read the electronics book, it's just lost XP. There's no point not to. I'd also mention that the right side of this shelf here will just be my dump shelf. Sometimes when you're when things are time sensitive and you just need to go, having a dump shelf or shelf where you just dump extra things on it is really nice to have. So this is my dump shelf of things I need to sort later. Now, here's a thought. Yeah, on my drive over, I'm going to top up the fuel in the van. And then fill up the empty can that's in the trunk as well. Getting to Malra, the Malra VHS. The best way there is to take a right at the end of this road. And basically just drive into southern Malra. Which has me driving directly past the gas station, so I might as well top up. The town still has decent amount of zombies around. And also, let's get the radio on so I know of any incoming power cuts. I know that there's a storm incoming, but it's the power that I'm mostly concerned about. Because for me to be truly ready for power, I'm going to probably want some additional generators. One to hook up here at the gas station so I can get gas from this gas station when the power's out. And then backup generators for the home. Possibly even additional generators for outposts and other secure spots that I want to keep powered on. Another annotated map. Creepy. Janitor's truck should be here. Mind the fence driving out. So it is south central Louisville. There's a truck near the maintenance area. Okay. So that is here. I'll mark it down. Very, very low interest in going to Louisville in this series, but you never know. Do stations have unlimited gas? Technically no, but functionally yes. Sorry that that's a confusing answer. Basically, gas stations typically have a ton of fuel. More than a single player is going to reasonably use. But on multiplayer servers that have a lot of players, it's possible for gas stations to run out, depending on server settings, of course. So, showers, heavy rain, that's good, because I have my rain barrels up. Severe weather, thunderstorm, imminent, ETA, blank days. Oh! Activity sector 24, was that? No, okay, that isn't about... I was wondering if that was regarding the power, but it wasn't. All fueled up, ready to go. So this is a targeted trip. Unlike heading to that town I just returned home from, where I went for like a little bit of everything, I'm only heading into Malra for one thing and one thing only, which is VHS tapes. Malra is a pretty big city, and I have no interest in lingering. So obviously Louisville's the biggest, right? There's literally 9 maps to cover it all. This is Malra, and it's pretty dense. It's pretty dense for towns as towns go. And this is West Point, which is also, it's more suburban, but it's also somewhat dense. And then, of course, Riverside and Rosewood are very tiny in comparison. And then there's also other towns that are not necessarily on the map, usually called like, there's Valley Point, which is near West Point. There's Dixie, you know, these are all other much smaller little towns. Valley Point, however, has a giant mall, which is not unpopulated, I'll put it that way. There are probably 3-4 times more zombies at the Valley Point Mall than there are in all of Rosewood. It's that swarming. So this road more or less takes us straight to Malra. There will be a large intersection that we eventually get to. There can be. So things to worry about when driving. If the road is wide enough, likely you're going to be able to drive around zombies. right? Like very narrow roads, if there's a large swarm, you might not be able to get by them, and that could be a problem. But on these highways, it's usually not zombies, it's usually wrecked cars, which we're coming up on some now. And sometimes there will be enough wrecked temporary communications failure. Okay. Sometimes there will be enough wrecked cars that it's nearly impassable. And at that point, you can use a propane torch to break down the cars. You can try to shove them around with high horsepower vehicles. You can, if they're not burned out wrecks, you can possibly tow them to make room. So there's a bunch of different ways to try to clear the roads. But the metalworking way does require a lot of propane fuel, just as a heads up. So if you're trying to do a significant amount of metalworking with your propane, it's not necessarily a good idea to waste it like scrapping cars, because it will burn your supply very fast. So only do it if it's an emergency or completely impassable or something like that. We will also be passing a cluster of warehouses, which is a not terrible spot to try to find sledgehammers. So although I'm not looking for a sledgehammer on this trip, if we were to make a follow-up trip, once plumbing is running in the base, I can point out the warehouses when we pass by the road that takes you to them. It's not a terrible spot to look for sledgehammers. Every now and then you can get lucky just finding sledgehammers in like storage containers or people's garages, things like that. But the safer bet would be to go to warehouses that are not... Some warehouses are specifically for food. They'll have like just sacks of potatoes or sacks of fresh vegetables or something like that. They're like packing warehouses for groceries. And they will never have sledgehammers. But other warehouses... there's even a warehouse in Louisville that is all Louisville Slugger baseball bats. It's like just a warehouse full of baseball bats. So sometimes there's themed warehouses, and those themed warehouses won't have sledgehammers, but the unthemed warehouses are a pretty solid chance. So this is a diner right there that I drove by, but in that direction is warehouses for possible sledgehammer finding. It's also worth noting that warehouses, as a general rule of thumb, are kind of higher population. Warehouses exist in sort of urban environments, and the zombies spawn urban-focused, meaning that if you go to warehouses, you're going to find a lot more zombies than if you are just in the sticks, in the woods. So if you do want to go hunting for sledgehammers and you're headed to warehouses, be prepared for a fight. Make sure to have coffee, a spare weapon, a fueled up car that you can get away with, that kind of stuff. So here's the big intersection. I don't really need the radio anymore. It's not telling me anything interesting. As you can see, a lot of burned out vehicles, somewhat impassable, a little hard to get through, but this is the road into Malra. Is it worth traveling to smaller, unmapped towns? It really depends on what your risk aversion level is and also your combat skill. Like if you're really skilled, you can go straight into Louisville, honk your horn, and kill everything, right? Like, players can do that. Like Raul, who was in chat here, he could do that. He's got, I'm guessing, thousands of hours of PZ under his belt, right? If you're not able to do stuff like that, yeah, sticking around to the outskirts of big cities is typically okay as well. That's what I'm doing here. If you go into the center of a city, it's very easy. Like if I was here at this warehouse, it's very easy for me to get surrounded and swarmed, lose access to my car because there's too many zombies around it, get bogged down, and get overwhelmed. Generally speaking, around the edge of a city, you can just kill all the zombies between you and the edge so that you have a way out. I would say that that's ultimately the biggest factor, is even the smallest towns, if you're in the center of it and you make a lot of noise or hit a house or car alarm or something like that, and you draw everyone at you, that's going to be a real problem. So working your way from the edges is a lot safer. regardless of the size of the city. Louisville, however, is an exception. There's no like edge of Louisville exactly. It's just a big old city that is full of zombies. So it's very tricky to try to work from the edge there. There are some less populated areas of Louisville, like the Central Park. So if you drove into Louisville, you're going to be passing a hordes of zombies. But if you drove straight to the park, it would be lower population, and you might be able to clear a little bit around there. But big cities like that are bigger risk and take probably a pretty decent amount of skill. Or luck, or both. But that is why I cannot stress enough when I say practice your fundamentals. Your fundamentals being dividing groups of zombies up, sneaking around them, killing them, isolating them, you know, making sure to check your six so that you don't get surrounded, they can't get behind you. Those sort of fundamentals are essential because as you work on those fundamentals, you'll build up the, you know, you'll build up the skills and knowledge to be able to survive bigger and bigger hordes. So holding right click, you can kind of look ahead. I don't see too many zombies ahead, so I'm going to pull the car up a little bit more. But if I zoom out on the minimap, you should be able to see the red star that I marked down. Don't know how many of the zombies that were in these woods spotted me, so I'm going to stop here. Also, it's probably worth me leaving the car running. And the reason being, if I need to get out, I can get out a lot faster with a running car than one that has to turn over a bunch. That's not the map I need. And I just demonstrated how easy it was to top up my fuel tank. So, like, I am not worried about the amount of fuel that I have. At all. So, leaving the car running just makes sense. This fuel is easy to get, but getting out of town, far more important. So that there is the diner, and that's one... Oh, I've got zombies behind me. That's one building up from the VHS. So what I'm trying to do is clear a path so I don't have a giant swarm that I have to contend with. It may depend on how loud the car is. True, there is the risk of cars do make noise. And if you leave a loud car running, it could attract zombies to it. So really only leave it running if you've cleared the nearby area around it so that it can't form its own horde. Because a running car, if left unattended for a long time, will absolutely become a problem in its own way. Yeah, that's... so thank you for the clarification. That's important to know. I am down to one water bottle. Okay. So I don't want to kill any more than I have to, which is why I'm driving slow. And I'm going to preemptively take beta blockers here. Because there's... it's getting populated now. We're getting into sort of Malra proper. And there's going to be more and more zombies than we have to deal with as we get closer to our goal. So I'm going to go red for this one. So this is the VHS store right here. This fenced-in, pale blue building. Oh no, that's a restaurant. The VHS is one store up. So it's even further up. It's in this next lot. So there's like 50, 60 zombies between me and where I want to go. And this will also give you a pretty decent idea of like the numbers that you're going to face going into a larger city and the risk involved in doing so. And also the tactics to prevent being overwhelmed. Where you just nimbly backpedal and regularly disengage. And then one thing that I haven't been doing a lot of is resting between groups. So once all the zombies around me are dead, definitely taken care of, and I have nothing on top of me, that's important. Nothing like immediately next to me or whatever. Sitting on the ground to catch my breath so that I don't become exerted during the fight. And it looks silly, but you can spin around here and make sure that nothing's coming up on you. Because if the zombies are any more than, like, let's say 15, 20 feet away, you'll be able to stand up in time before they get to you. But if they're like 5 feet away, they're probably going to grab you before you're able to get to your feet. So you got to be careful about sitting on the ground. There's only room for one crossbow bar man, and that's me. Or woman, I guess. My character's a woman. Or crowbar. I call it crossbar. Let's pretend I know English. Something in between pry bar and crowbar. Getting drowsy. That's not good, because I did wake up at like 6 in the morning. So there's a sizable group between me and the goal. It might call for coffee. I'm going to pull that out of my backpack. I don't want to turn back. I don't want to rest, because Malra is a big enough city that if I call it quits because I'm starting to get drowsy and drive home now, what will end up happening is, like, zombies will just wander back into the road and fill the way up again, meaning that the total amount of progress that I have made will be almost zero, right? So I don't really want to turn around and lose most, if not all, of my progress, so I'm just going to keep going. So what I'm going to do here is eat my coffee. Eat half of a bag of coffee. That will keep the fatigue down. And then drink the pop for the thirst. And keep fighting my way in. I'm a little low on water. I only have half a bottle. So I have to keep an eye on that too. I don't want to run out of water. Because I'm wearing a lot of layers, I'm getting kind of hot and wet, sweaty. Right there. Hit vids. I can see it from here. That's where I want to go. Looks like kind of a big fight ahead of me, so I'm going to grab beta blockers and take that ahead of time. The crowbar I have on me is probably nearing end of life, and there's nothing worse than lining up a hit against a zombie with a broken weapon in your hand. So, oh, a double holster. Yes, please. Bye-bye old holster. Hello, new one. So that means it might be worth swapping out this crowbar. Oh no, there's actually a considerable amount of health left on it. I take that back. Now that I'm next to the car, I'm just going to dump all of the extra stuff I have on me. Lore and my encumbrance. How many have I killed so far? Total 325. Oops, I turned the car off. There we go. Technically, it's more efficient, weapon efficient, to stomp them, but because I'm just concerned about clearing the horde quickly so I don't get overwhelmed, I don't care about damaging my crowbar a little bit, smashing zombies that are laying on the ground, because I can multi-hit smash, and also it's just easier to smash zombies when they're laying on the ground than trying to line up a headshot with like this, because sometimes you miss, sometimes it's not instant. So when you're dealing with big numbers, large groups of zombies, I usually play it safe and do more damage to the weapon. So there's hit vids. Looks like if I'm quietish, there's a group of what? 2, 4, 6, 8, 10 there. And then right outside of hit vids, there's like another group of maybe 8. So there's like 18 zombies between me and my videotapes. It's 3:30 in the afternoon. And I am hopped up on coffee. So I'm just sitting on the ground, trying to recover some of my exertion. It's not a moodlet I currently see, but I want to avoid ever becoming exerted. And let's keep fighting. If the devs were listening, what would I ask them to add or remove to the game? The thing I want most, they're working on, so... which would be humanoid or human NPCs, right? Non-zombie NPCs. And they're working on it. Of course, they've been working on it for like 12 years, but they're working on it. Because I feel like the world will feel a lot richer. Oh, hello. If you weren't the only human in it. Removing from the game. Now that's a more difficult question. I don't know about removing from the game. How about you? How about everyone in chat? How would you guys answer that question? Ooh. This lady has like a lead pipe through her torso. That's pretty metal, lady. She has 2 Louisville maps. Yeah, I think that was the last one I needed. Let's see. Yep. Okay. I no longer need to loot maps. I have revealed all of Louisville. There's a zombie behind me coming up because I see the tree wiggling. Oh, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it's just paranoia. I definitely saw the tree wiggle, but sometimes they just wiggle. All right, popping a squat. Rusting up. Now, that group looks a little larger than I thought. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14 maybe? That's okay. They should remove house alarms because you hate them? Well, you can turn them off. You can turn off house alarms in the server settings. So you can just remove it for yourself. Just set your game up as survivor or apocalypse difficulty, whichever you want. And then there's a slider for, there's just a server setting for alarms. One way to recover some of my thirst would be to eat the tomatoes and strawberries that I have, because they're thirst quenching. Although I'm automatically withdrawing from the water bottle, so that's not going to be super helpful. All right, let's keep going. So I want to try to do this without aggroing, with aggroing the least amount possible. So like these two, and then this group, and nothing else. I did just get drowsy again. So what I'm going to do here is move my water bottle into the backpack so I don't drink it automatically. Eat the remainder of the coffee. Because I have a lot of coffee at home. I'm not too worried about going through all my coffee. Coffee is kind of precious in the game because it's a very useful tool to be able to stave off drowsiness so that you can fight effectively. Eat my coffee, and then to fill up my thirst, I'll just eat tomatoes. And that will probably do it. Okay, mostly. So the reason I pulled my water bottle from my main inventory into my backpack is so that I wouldn't automatically take sips of it. So that I could treat my dehydration with tomatoes instead of with water bottle. To be able to stretch the water bottle that I have further. Alright, come on, big group. And that was like... okay. 7 of them. Something like that. You always get screwed over by the heli event? Well, I covered the heli event, what was it, last stream? Stream before? But there's kind of 3 ways to go about it. Oh, let me, I need to get my beta blockers in. You can either drive around during it, you can hide, knowing when it's coming helps, or you can just, like outwalk the zombies, right? Because the thing about zombies is, like, your walking speed is faster than their shambling speed. So as long as you're just, like, walking on the road during the helicopter event, the zombies will never catch you. And you can just keep walking away from the zombies. So those are 3 pretty decent ways to deal with the chopper. Is to drive around, to outwalk all the zombies, or to hide in place. Or I guess there's a 4th way, which is just to fight them all. But if you keep dying to the helicopter event, I'm guessing that's not an option for you. Because I've done the just fight everything that came out of the woodwork. It can be fun. Definitely risky, but it can be fun. Especially if you're in a big city. Do the alarms still ignore zombies? Yes. Zombies will not set off building alarms. So just because you see zombies shambling around a building does not mean it's not alarmed. Alright, water's almost out. I'm going to pull that into my backpack and, again, just rely on tomatoes for now. I hope that there's a sink in this... Actually, I don't think there is. I hope that there's soda pop or something in this hit vids. Although, you know, I'm not that far away from just driving home. So I'm almost through the horde. And then we'll hit the shelves and then go home. Unless, of course, this hit vid is alarmed. That would be cruel. Thank you for tuning in to Rad's Guide to Project Zomboid, which originally streamed live on Twitch, April 10th. If you have any feedback or questions for me, let me know in the comments below. If you would like to catch a live stream of mine, Rhadamant.com has my stream schedule and countdown timers to upcoming streams. If you would like to join my online gaming community on Discord, Rhadamant.com has a link to it, as does the description of this video. Thank you so very much for watching, and a special thank you to my Patreon patrons, Twitch subscribers, and viewers like you that support the channel and made it all the way to the credits. Thank you so very much. I hope to catch you on next episode or an upcoming stream. Farewell, my fellow zombie survivors.